Juvenile just got on the Breakfast Club and said that Lil Wayne is the greatest rapper of all time. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. He said that he saw. Okay, cool. We got yeah. We got somebody jumping in because we're gonna talk about. I want to talk to Siobhan about this Wayne topic too, man. Juvenile got on the Breakfast Club and said that in his opinion, Lil Wayne is the greatest MC of all time. Yo, what's good, brother?
What's good?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you been?
I'm good. Introduce yourself to the people real quick, man.
My name is Servan, man. Straight out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Representing the living room. So,
yes, sir. All day, man. I appreciate you joining me, man. Even talking about this Wayne topic and talking about this Drake topic, I wanted to actually have somebody from your generation. You're a little younger than me. You came up in the Wale era, in the is it fair to say like the Big Sean era of things? Okay. And yeah. So I would love your perspective on some of these things. I don't want to just talk from an old nigga's perspective on some of these things. You know what I mean? And so Juvenile said that Lil Wayne's the greatest MC of all time. And, Juvenile saw Wayne since he was a child and saw him continue to grow and continue to elevate. I expect Juvenile to say that. He should say that. Like, he's repping his team. He's repping, his city, label, legacy, all of those things. But how valid is it to say that Wayne is the greatest rapper of all time? And is there a huge populace that feels like he has that number one spot?
It's a valid argument. It's also a subjective argument, but it's a very valid one. You can make overall hip hop. We never seen somebody really have a run like Wayne was just crushing shit, like consistently, from the features to the albums to the consistency. That work ethic is kind of trickled down to how music is consumed today, as far as how often you hear people on records, how often you hear music. Is damn near the same. A little bit of that formula that Drake uses with his consistency to be able to keep music rolling out. That even if it's not an album, you're gonna hear him on a feature. You're gonna hear him on a single. It's a mixtape. He changed the mixtape game for a minute. I think it's a valid argument for Wayne. You may have some people that may think otherwise, because you have the Jay-Z's, you have the DMX's, you have people that have these classic albums and the longevity to them that has crushed in their time. People can even make the argument for Kanye, but I kind of place him in another category as far as MC. But the quality of music and the consistency is there. So
I want to play devil's advocate for a second, right? I think that all right, Wayne, if we look at it from a real longevity standpoint, Wayne technically started in like 97. I mean, his first solo album was 99. So let's just start there, right? Even though he had Hot Boy stuff in 97, Get It How You Live. In 99. So if we look at 99 and shit, Wayne's most recent effort, the collaboration with 2 Chainz, which he was rapping crazy on.
Yes.
Last year. It's 2023. We're talking about 24 years of longevity. Like, there's a small amount of people, past, present, whatever, that can claim 24 years of just straight up consistency. You mentioned DMX. DMX had very, and I say this respectfully, God bless the dead. He had 3 or 4 very, very strong years, and things kind of tapered off a little bit, right? Jay, Reasonable Doubt's a classic, but Jay didn't hit right away in the same way that, Block is Hot. People can say whatever about it.
That's where it gets shaky if you're gonna make that statement, because some people can make that same argument for Wayne, that it didn't really hit for him until the Carter. Like, we was familiar with Wayne, the Hot Boys, but you talk about that 90s early run, it was Juvie. I mean, we can't take that away, but Juvie was the hottest out of that early running Cash Money. It could be debated. BG, Wayne.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Wayne was number 3. Wayne was number 3. I was there. Yeah, it was Juvenile was the man. Then BG was number 2, and Wayne was number 3.
Exactly.
Like, Wayne didn't jump into that spot. I mean, if we're going to be real about it, he started to get to that spot around the Carter 1. I remember things were changing with the Carter 1. Actually, I remember 400 Degrees when I saw the video for Where You At that was on 106 in Park. I was like, man, Wayne snapping. And that song "Fuck You" that was playing in the club with the big timers, whatever. He was rapping. It was like Wheezy. It was like, it was different. He wasn't the wobbledy Wayne like that. But then when the Carter 1 dropped, I think that's when we kind of start taking him serious as an MC.
Facts.
But he wasn't doing numbers yet. So you're right. If we want to play that game with reasonable doubt, Wayne's volume 2 is actually the Carter 3, if we're being honest, because Carter 2 wasn't doing numbers like that either. I remember, and the stuff was quality though. You know what I mean? The mixtapes and all that stuff, dedicated to 3, dedication 2, 3, all that. But I remember 50 Cent was on MTV, and this is when Wayne was in the middle of his buzz and just building up for the Carter 3. 50, who had the hits at the time, he was like, you can't even tell me what his first single was from his last album. And we knew that it was Fireman, I think. But again, these songs weren't like household hits like that. And his volume 2 moment wasn't really into the Carter 3, and that's 08. So that can be said if we're,
Well, like I said, that's always going to be subjective depending on what region you are when you start dissecting his albums like that.
Right.
Because, the classic for some people may be the Carter 1. The world knew Wayne at the Carter 3. My favorite is the Carter 2. But the Carter 1, you have Go DJ, you have Bring It Back, you have, Earthquake. Those are the singles off that. Those are still classics. You go to HBCU, you're going to hear Earthquake, the joint with Jazzy Faye. You're going to hear Go DJ in the club. Even till this day, a DJ is going to find a way to put it in. Bring It Back. That's when he declared himself the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired. Yep. So, there's statements that was made in the buildup of each one. And then you have the Carter 2 where you get you're getting hustler music. You're getting songs of that, and he's making his way. So I mean, it could be debated depending on who you talk to on when he jumped out. But I say when the world took notice and eyes was on Wayne, it had to be the Carter 1. That's when he stamped himself, I'm the best rapper alive. And the mixtapes were to follow, and he was showing and proving. So I guess you just have to trickle it down to what's your personal favorites. But if I want to talk about his contribution to hip hop, yes, he has the longevity that is like unique in a way because he did start very young and still is relevant till today. And there's not a lot of artists that made it past 2 or 3 albums.
Yeah.
He has a great catalog, which I think catalog wise, if you were to add in the mixtapes and all that run, he's probably able to hang in there. If they were to do like a versus, he could probably go in there and hang with Jay as far as the longevity of run of music. But
what's his best song, you think? What do you think Wayne's like hallmark record is?
I feel like Wayne's best hits came off the Carter 3 nationally. That's when, but like I said, he's a cultural icon as well, man. You have so many monumental features with just Wayne on it. You have classic freestyles. You have, cult classic singles off albums like the Carter 1 and 2. And you can go back to, Lights Out or, his prior albums, Block Is Hot and stuff. These are things that when you hear it, oh man, I remember the time when I first heard that. It brings you back to a point in time. But I would say the hallmark of his best hits that the world knows, and outside of just hip hop, outside of just our culture, the world knew Wayne off the Carter 3. But I feel like hip hop took notice to Wayne off the Carter 1, and in the Carter 2, he was already legitimized as, hey, he is the best rapper alive at this time.
Well, I think they're very important in the same way that Reasonable Doubt and Volume 1 are important for Jay. While you were talking, I was thinking that, like, the Carter 1 and the Carter 2 are the foundations for everybody getting on board with the Carter 3. Once people heard Lollipop and A Milli, it's like, okay, well, I can go back. It's like, oh damn, I miss Go DJ or whatever. And I think Go DJ was big enough for people heard it, but we're talking about crossover audiences now. Like people heard, Can't Knock the Hustle, Feeling It, Ain't No Nigga. People heard Who You With and stuff like that. But when Hard Knock Life came, it's like, okay, shit, I need to go back and listen to this whole album.
Exactly.
And I think that's why, albums like the Carter 1 and 2 are extremely important. I think Wayne's legacy, I want to go back to something you said initially. The fact that people put out so much music now, and in the streaming era, digital era, or whatever you want to call it, that comes from, like you said, that work ethic that Wayne put forth. He's a game changer in that sense. And, even when you correlate things to sports, it's like we kind of quantify our great ones by the people who made the league change rules. You know what I'm saying? And there were a lot of rules changed in the game from the things that Wayne put forth. He got a lot of kids out here. You know what I'm saying? Not just talking about his birth kids in this music game. A lot of people, the way they put music out, he made mixtapes important in a different kind of way, right? Like, obviously we know G Unit and 50 and the Lox and, all those guys made mixtapes well before Wayne did it. But I think for a certain era, he made that mixtape game important to the fact that it's like, you know what? You can actually sell these things like albums. Because after 50 put out, Get Rich or Die Trying, the focus was more so on, the album. He had some mixtapes in between there, more so than the mixtape. Wayne made sure that he still fed the mixtape crowd and had the mainstream crowd and had like 100-something features. Like, this is what makes you great now, being a volume shooter, if you will. And, we talk about Steph Curry, man, and how the league turned to a three-point shooting league just based off of the way he played. Wayne's similar to that in a sense.
Yeah.
And, and just for that alone, he deserves to be in the conversation because there's not a lot of people who have that level of longevity, who changed the game in that way, and who usher in people like Drake, Nicki, and, all the other people that he helped who weren't even signed to his label.
I feel like not only that, he kept the Cash Money lights on, and he extended that new generation of Cash Money, which now we could arguably kind of start putting Cash Money into the conversation of one of the best record labels ever.
Because that's true. You're right.
All the hip hop artist-led labels, they're the one that's still standing and still alive. So we could make that argument that they're still standing from the 90s until now. And it's a true testament to not only of Wayne's power, but the branches that extends from Wayne, that family that extends from Wayne. And then not only that, the in-between, like how you say, his feet and his bass in between the albums, leading up to the albums with the mixtapes, the features. We also have to really give Wayne credit for showing people a way of not only staying hip hop, but now you have to give him credit for how he was able to branch off to other areas outside of hip hop where people are listening to him. And like I said, that's when I feel like you become a global icon. And that's an argument that people make for Jay, that like sometimes they'll say, oh, he wasn't recognized in the world until he got with Beyonce or whatever. Wayne is a global icon at this point. So he's made albums that's part rock albums. It may not be, the most hip hop to us as far as listeners, our favorite albums, but he does have the I Am Not Human albums. He has, those type of joints that resonate with others, that makes him a global icon. And I feel like what Wayne has done, not only for hip hop, but for Cash Money is stamped and it's solidified, and he does have a good argument to be held as one of the best to ever do it. Just from what he came from to where he got to, and how he's still able to come and be relevant, and then his influence to the game and the people that's branched from underneath him. It's a great argument, because I can't say there's another artist that we're going to see or that as Wayne, as far as work ethic and consistency and being able to just keep coming with it whenever his number's called.
Yeah, and you know, it's only a handful, and all those people who are in that handful are all time greats. Now, I do want to clarify. Of course, 50 Cent was dropping mixtapes, but those are more so G Unit mixtapes as opposed to solo missions.
Mm,
Like these
he did.
Wayne mixtapes were solo missions.
I mean, like 50 did have solo mixtapes. Don't get me wrong. 50 has classic
After Get Rich or Die Trying, though.
No, that's the thing. That's
That's
what
what
I
I
mean.
mean.
Like,
Yeah,
not really after the get. I mean, he had Who Kid tapes here and there, but
yeah, because
his
Elephant in the
his
Sand,
wise,
I love those joints, but
yeah,
those are more
his
G
rise,
Unit. You know what I mean?
mixtape wise was leading up to this is before him signing the Aftermath and Shady or whatnot. But what Wayne did with he should be on the Mount Rushmore for mixtape,
Ooh, who is on the Mount Rushmore mixtapes?
So
That
we have to put Wayne on there, hands down. We have to put Wayne on there. I think 50 does get a
50's my
rightful.
first pick on that.
Yeah, I think 50 does get a rightful spot on there. And this where some people may say it gets shaky because I would like to throw Fab on there. I think Fab has a nice run, but some people say I don't know.
I
Fab
mean,
has a nice
somebody
run.
in the chat
Soul
said
Tape
that
series.
before you even said it.
Yeah, there's no competition in the Soul Tape series. For the underground, they may say Currency. Some people may throw Currency in there. I know the newer generation will say Future. The newer generation will say Future.
What do you think about Gucci Mane in that?
Gucci Mane has a hell of a run mixtape wise. He's not the best mainstream artist, but we know him from the underground. He consistently kept feeding us, mixtapes, so we can say Gucci. There's
Jeezy.
Jeezy. Yes, Can't Ban the Snowman. You know what I'm saying? Even before that, trap music. Not trap music, but Trap or Die. Yeah, Trap or Die. So, we could say Jeezy, but for me, yeah, it has to be 50, Wayne. Man, this is a good one. 50, Wayne, Fab.
Mm-hmm.
These are personal favorites that I listen to. Man, now you got me thinking, Mike. You got me thinking.
What about Big Crit? What do you think about Crit's mixtape game?
I didn't consistently listen to Crit.
Okay.
Wise, so I can't make a judgment off that. Man, I just start thinking about classic mixtapes, and now it just brings me back to why Wayne is so great. He has so much that I could, compare it to these other artists during even their mixtape tear.
My personal favorite, Gangsta Grill, is T.I.'s Down with the King.
But I think T.I. is kind of slept on as far as his mixtapes that he contributed.
Yeah, I think that once other people start doing the mixtapes, maybe he was more focused on albums, and his mixtapes were kind of overshadowed or whatever. But Down with the King is everything that T.I. is. He's talking shit on there. He's flowing crazy. He's making songs. He's dissing niggas. Like, if you want to know who T.I. was in his prime, young T.I., listen to Down with the King. It's personally my favorite T.I. project. It's not his best, but it's a personal favorite of mine. He was on point on there. Now, I will say this, and we can move on to the Drake topic after this. I think my only trepidation about putting Wayne on an all-time great, I guess, number one list. I think Wayne's dope lyrically, and I think that he can wrap circles around a lot, but I just think he lacks the storytelling ability, right? The cohesive type of subject matter and creative content in that way. I think he's creative in a different way where he kind of just spits shit and just makes it come together. But from a traditional rhyming standpoint, from my old ears, listen to a Rakim, a Nas, a Jay, even the way Biggie puts stuff together, and even the sentiment of a lot of Pac's music. I don't think we're gonna get a Dear Mama from Wayne. I don't think we're gonna get the range of like Ambitions as a Rider, No More Pain, or Brenda's Got a Baby from Wayne, and those things. Those are my concerns with putting Wayne on an all-time, above a Scarface or something like that. But if we're just talking the music and we're talking about being a game changer, it's tough to make an argument against him.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne claimed to be the best rapper alive. Now,
Right.
when you start breaking stuff down due to content, it can get shaky for a lot of artists.
Right.
It can
I
get
mean, I
shaky
think
for
T.I. is more rounded of an MC than Wayne is. If we want to talk subject matter and just being able to talk to talk to the women, talk on some, you know what I'm saying, street shit, and then talk on some, you know what I'm saying, praying for help. I'm just doing my job. Like, I think he's more balanced in that facet than even Wayne is.
But let's think about it. Like, because I feel like a lot of our greats, I always judge them based off their album runs,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still only a
That's
handful
a great
of
judge.
that
That's the
have
great thing to judge
album
people by.
runs.
Yeah.
T.I. is one of those people that have a good album run.
Yeah.
Kanye is one of those other people that have a great album run.
Yep.
Wayne, we have to think he had a great album run, but think about how many albums came before that run that were like their regional favorites or whatnot. But
Right.
that first 3 Carter series, and some people would love to throw in the Carter 4 because that was a good album as well.
Okay.
The album runs, Jay, that can get shaky for some people. I'm biased because I'm a Jay fan, but there's some people that may not credit Jay's run to after volume 2.
Where does Jay get shaky?
As far as who? As far as Jay or artist?
I guess as far as Jay, because I'll say Reasonable Doubt's great. Classic. It's his best album. Volume 1 is actually better than I originally thought back in the day.
When I go back and revisit
it aged very well. Volume 2 is the one that people feel like didn't age well, but I will say Volume 2 got the hits. It's like
Volume 2 is when the world started accepting Jay. I mean, come on, Hard Knock Life.
It's a classic moment.
Yeah, but let's keep it real. The reason why I say it gets shaky for Jay in those early albums, because like I say, Reasonable Doubt classic, Volume 2 classic. You can't tell me anything bad about Jay that I won't have a rebuttal for. You know what I'm saying? Like
Volume 3. Let's talk about it.
Fan. But let's be honest. For that early album run or that time era of that 90s, early 2000s, DMX had Jay.
Oh yeah,
we have to say that. So that's why I say it gets a little shaky for Jay because DMX was dropping 2 in the same year and killing.
Well, okay. Let's take it a step further. And I know Leroy wants to chime in on this in the chat or whatever. 96, the MVP is Pop. 97, the MVP is Big. Or it could possibly be Mace, Puff, whatever, however you want to look at it. 98, the MVP is DMX. Shit, 99, the MVP might be DMX. 2000, I personally would say Ghostface. Many people would say Eminem. Somebody could say Nelly. Whatever. 01, I think Jay gets that one. I give MVP to Jay on
Blueprint.
01. Yeah. But 01 is also Stillmatic and 01 is also Ether. But what I will give Jay, he had that Summer Jam, he had the Blueprint, he still had Give It To Me out here rocking. You know what I'm saying? So all of those things are going on still. So I will give Jay 01. And then 02, it's like, who's the MVP of 02? I might give that one to Eminem straight up. And this is me talking.
I gotta go back and look at who dropped in 02, but you know who came in 03, man. You know who?
Yeah, that's 50.
You know who came.
That's unanimous MVP right there. 02 could either be because Scarface dropped The Fix and Eminem dropped the Eminem Show.
But that's my favorite Eminem album. That's his most hip hop. That's M's most hip hop album.
Best album.
That's my favorite Eminem album. Yes.
Me too. I agree. 03, yeah, that's 50. And listen to what you're saying. That's the year that Jay retired and dropped the Black Album. And that's still 50.
Yeah.
And so we got to ask ourselves, because I don't think Jay has any MVP years even after that. He has one MVP year in his whole career.
Yeah, when you talk about him against his peers, but
that's not dominance, I would say.
Yes, but what makes Jay great is stuff outside of music as well. His business mind, his crew, the people they put on, the people that came from that Rockefeller branch.
That's fair.
Rockefeller dominated,
Dipset. I mean, regardless of what their relationship was like, that came from the Rockefeller brand. Dipset changed the game in their own way as well. Kanye changed the game. That comes from the Rockefeller brand. Even that whole Philly movement, that changed things with Siegel, State Property, Freeway. You remember that little period where everybody was rhyming like Freeway? It was crazy. And so, yes, and
from
that's
clothing
all under
to
Jay's umbrella and
yeah,
his
from
work.
clothing to everything. Jay just now Rockefeller influence culturally is what makes Jay great. Not only his albums, like honestly, Jay's one of those artists. I go back and I listen to his albums, and I feel like there's a quote of a song from every album I could put into my regular day life. So it's like Jay has one for everything. Like when you go back and listen to Jay's albums, because people like to, you know, put Jay in a nutshell what they think he is, but he's one of those artists that I could say I literally see his growth with every album. Like I literally see his growth for every album, and that's where a lot of artists lack is they don't grow with their albums.
Even though I don't like 444 like that, I've never got your opinion on 444.
I love it.
I still see growth. Where do you put 444 in this catalog?
Probably number 2 or 3.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Shabbat. Come on. Why? I gotta ask you why. I got bottom 2 or 3.
So I remember looking at this interview with Andre 3000, and he's talking about, you know, they're talking about what do you rap about at this age and whatnot, you know, and I'm like, Jay's the perfect example. Jay's giving us music that we could feel, but it's coming from his mature mindset at that age of him being in his 50s. And if you're a grown man and you looked at your lifespan and how you came up and the mistakes you made or whatever, and you looking in the mirror, that's the album. I feel like not only did it give you his growth, but it also spoke to it spoke to social, so a lot of some social things in that album. As far as
Nas is another example of that. Like, I mean, Nas showed people with life is good that, like, look, I could talk about a divorce. You know what I mean? Like, it's very Marvin Gaye-esque. And it's really disheartening to hear somebody as talented as Andre 3000 say these things, because one could even say in the 60s and 70s, before even R&B music got real socially conscious or even talking about things that were outside of love songs, like, look, at a certain age, what can I sing about? You know what I mean? Like, that didn't stop Marvin Gaye from making What's Going On. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Marvin Gaye was out here making, to some people, what would be considered doo-wop music. You know what I mean? Like that Motown music. These were love songs, which were great love songs, all-time great love songs. But when he reached a point in his life that, you know what, I can sing about something different, he did. And it just, I love 3000, but it just lets you know that there's levels of limitations for certain artists, and those limitations, they're not to your all-time greatness. And for whatever reason, when it comes to Andre, we want to just look at him as in a vacuum, as opposed to being critical of those things.
I hated hearing that from Andre, because we got the Outkast albums, and I feel like that last one, that Speaker Box Love Below, it showed his artistry, but I feel like I wanted to just hear a Drake album of seeing who he is as a solo artist. You know, we know Outkast the group, but I've always wanted to get that inside glimpse of, you know, what he can deliver on an album and telling us about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like every artist kind of have that thing that can define who we see them as an artist. And I kind of feel like outside of, you know, I would say that the different way of how he flows or how he constructs music is we fall in love with Dre because his artistry, as far as him being different and the way he puts words together. But I always wanted to get that glimpse of who he was as a person, and I feel like, when did we get the chance to see that outside of the dress, the clothing, and, you know, the odd way of just him being different? When have we got a glimpse to him as a person musically? And so,
you won't, because this is who Dre is, right? And Dre is a rare case where he shines in group settings, but when he's by himself, he doesn't really have anything to give you. And what he is a shining example of is how hard it is to be a solo artist, you know. And even with some people who are solo artists, I'll say Method Man, one of my favorite rappers. He's clearly a different person in a group setting than he is by himself. Some people are just more comfortable in a group setting, and Andre not only is more comfortable in a group setting, but he just won't and can't do. I'm gonna say can't because it's been 30 years and we don't have one single song where it's just him and 3 verses and a hook. He just can't do the solo rap thing,
So
and he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't have a hunger to do it. That's one thing, and he doesn't have a desire to do it, and he just can't pull it off. I think he's probably attempted in the studio and probably heard it and felt like something was missing, and it never came out. And that's how important Big Boy really is, and people don't really put the onus on how important Big Boy is to Dre's legacy. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
If it wasn't for Big Boy standing there and being as consistent as an MC as he is, and being as versatile of an MC as he is, we wouldn't even know the talents that Dre has.
And so, and this brings me to my question: why do we put Dre in that GOAT conversation when we're talking about solo artists when we haven't really got a solo hip hop album for him?
I don't. I say he's disqualified from that conversation because he doesn't have anything to qualify for.
Exactly. Now, if we're talking about Outkast as a group, they're top 5, probably top 3 best hip hop.
Exactly. Outkast as a group, all time great.
But Dre as an artist, I don't understand why people put Dre in their top 5 because I'm like, man, at least give me a hip hop album. The Love Below is not a hip hop album.
It's disrespectful to people who put out solo material. Like Common just dropped a dope album with Pete Rock. Common is pretty much handling that album solo. By the first 4 or 5 songs, he got more verses than Andre done given us in like 4 or 5 years.
Like, you can't pop out, give somebody a feature, then step out, and then he's the GOAT. Oh my God! Don't get me wrong, I love 3 Stacks.
I do too.
He when we're talking about GOAT conversation and top 5, top 10, he's not my top 10.
No, he's not even in the conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? He can't be because he's not qualified to be in an individual conversation. You have to have individual material for me to qualify you in an individual conversation. It is what it is.
I agree.